So I'm a huge Star Wars fan, and Star Wars games are few and far between ever since Battlefront 2 ended. So with Star Wars Outlaws releasing this week, I set out on a mission to become the first ever Platinum Achiever for this game. Now, for those of you that don't know about Star Wars Outlaws, you play as Kay Vess, an up-and-coming scoundrel character similar to a Han Solo character type, working with different crime syndicates to get herself by. Now that you kind of know what the game is about, there is a total of 50 trophies for the Platinum and approximately 25 to 30 hours to complete, which could go up to 50 if you get stuck on a few of them. And that may sound easy, but as for someone who works full-time like myself, a lot of late nights led to the result of this video. And let's just say everything didn't quite go to plan. As always, thank you so much for the support on the channel recently. We are very quickly approaching 100 subscribers, so do me a favor and subscribe to say you guys were here in the beginning of this channel, and let me know down in the comments what game I should platinum next. Now, getting into the game, it begins on Cantonica, which is the core world for the location Canto Bight, which you might remember from The Last Jedi. On this planet, we learn the intro and basic controls of combat while attempting to break into a vault in this huge compound belonging to our main villain, Sliro. After this all goes wrong, Kay steals a ship from Sliro's dock and crashes her way down onto the planet Toshara, where we unlock our first trophy for acquiring a blaster, starfighter, and speeder, which was sitting in the back of the ship we just stole. The speeder bike was a lot of fun to fly around on in Star Wars Outlaws, and there are a few trophies related to things you can do with it. Almost immediately after landing on Toshara, I unlocked the Like a Bantha trophy for performing a perfect landing, and there's another easy one coming up later in the video also. So 2 trophies down really quickly, we are off to a great start. From there, we made our way to Mirogana City, which is kind of the main hub city for this game. And upon arriving, we discovered our first Nyx treasure by the entrance. There are a total of 15 of these collectibles throughout the different planets of the game, so I will show you them soon too, and we will get the trophy later in the video for that one. After this, we met with Danka, who is our first of many characters that we can take contracts from. We complete a quick infiltration mission for her, breaking into Pike territory and stealing some intel. And at this point, the world opens up a little bit more for us to explore. I had some intel that took me back out into the fields of Toshara, where I won my first speeder bike race, followed the intel, and unlocked my next trophy, Stay on Target, for completing my first intel chain. With that trophy unlocked, we had to get into some very interesting platforming to retrieve a part to upgrade our speeder bike, allowing us the new ability Speed Boost, which was the beginning of another trophy where unlocking all the expert quests is required. At this point, we got our first taste of space combat, which I have to admit I was skeptical about at first, but after getting to play it for myself, I really enjoyed it. We then infiltrated an Imperial space station, and it was here I received my next trophy for picking 20 locks with the data spike. Now, there are a few more trophies related to lockpicking, so we will get to those shortly too, but after reaching the depths of the Imperial compound, we met a new friend, Boss Nock, and rescued him from there. Landing back at Mirogana City, we send Boss Nock out to enjoy his freedom and begin to explore the city, where I was able to overhear an NPC discussing the Farthia races, which is basically just like horse racing. I overheard him telling another NPC that the next Farthia race was rigged and the heaviest Farthia would win. I quickly headed over to place a bet accordingly, and sure enough, we received our next trophy against all odds for winning a fixed Farthia race. Continuing on with the story, we completed a mission for Gorak, who is the underboss for the Pike syndicates, and at the end of this mission, we chose to side with him or Crimson Dawn. I chose Crimson Dawn, and my reputation with the Pikes plummeted. Luckily for me though, this led to a trophy. I got a trophy for reaching the lowest reputation level with a syndicate. I also needed to reach the top reputation with one of the syndicates throughout the story, which is exactly what we unlocked next. Luckily for me, the next trophy came immediately after this due to the fact that I sided with Crimson Dawn on the last mission. I was then awarded with the Cloak and Dagger trophy for reaching the top reputation level with Crimson Dawn. So as you can see, it wasn't all bad betraying the Pikes in that last mission, but we do have to get all of these different syndicates up to max reputation at some point. So you'll be seeing that later in the video as well. Now that I had great reputation with Crimson Dawn, I was granted access to their VIP trader, where I was able to unlock another super easy trophy for purchasing an item from him. Now, a lot of this game is based around stealth, but unfortunately things don't always go to plan. I was attempting to sneak my way into an Imperial base on Toshara when I was spotted and the alarm was raised. After blasting my way through a few Imperial agents and stormtroopers, I was able to disable the alarm, which granted me the Now You See Me, Now You Don't trophy for disabling an alarm that was already activated. This one is pretty easy, but you have to be in the right locations to do it. So these little compounds or Imperial bases that you can see around Toshara are probably the perfect place to do this. Now, my plan for platinuming Star Wars Outlaws was kind of to run through the main story and then clean up everything in the open world after to find all the trophies I missed along the way. So pushing on into the story, we met Jalen, who seemed to be just like us, a scoundrel with a plan for a big score, and his BX commando droid companion ND5, who is pretty awesome. Jalen leaves ND5 with us, who becomes our co-pilot, and kind of guides us through the next parts of the story to put together a crew for the big heist. This is where we unlock the next story trophy, Tip the Scales, for completing all the main quests on Toshara. Now remember that because we get one for completing all the main story quests on each of the planets throughout the video. Now this is where the fun begins because the game opens up to the other planets, Kijimi, Akiva, and Tatooine. You can travel to any of these, but I took ND5's advice and went to Kijimi first. Kijimi is the smallest of the planets, making it a little bit easier to navigate and complete all the story missions here. The first trophy on this planet came during a break-in mission, which I had to rescue Ankh. He's the next member of our crew for this heist. During this mission, I unlocked the Into the Mainframe trophy for slicing 10 advanced terminals. See, I told you there was more coming. At the end of this mission, I was given a choice to give the artifact we just recovered on the mission to Crimson Dawn or the newly introduced Ashiga clan. And seeing as I had already unlocked the reputation trophy with Crimson Dawn, I decided to side with the Ashiga clan, netting myself another trophy for reaching their top reputation level as well, leaving only one syndicate left to go, but we'll get to that later in the video. After finishing these missions in Kijimi, it was all done, and after a stern talking to from Kira, who is the leader of Crimson Dawn, we were able to head out to the next planet, unlocking the One Job at a Time trophy for completing the main quests on Kijimi. So here is where we set off to our next planet, one that all Star Wars fans are familiar with, Tatooine, which looks absolutely incredible in this game, might I add. It is here where we are, of course, introduced to the Hutt cartel, and Jabba seems to take a liking to our little companion Nix. He steals Nix from us and locks him in a cage at the bottom of this palace, and it is our job to get him back. We get a really cool Easter egg of Han Solo frozen in carbonite, as this was set in between episode 5 and episode 6, and there is also another extremely cool Easter egg to be found in Jabba's palace, but I don't really want to spoil that for you guys because it was really cool to see. Just make sure you guys look to the left while crawling through the vents in Jabba's palace. But Easter eggs aside, we're rescuing Nix and we unlock our next trophy called Making Friends for escaping Jabba's palace. Now Jabba does kind of stitch us up at this point, but I'll let you experience that for yourselves because again, I don't want to ruin what happened in the story after that because it's actually a pretty cool scene and something that was a lot of fun. But 14 trophies down, and remember before when I unlocked a trophy for slicing 10 advanced terminals? Well, now we unlock the Slice Like You trophy for slicing 20 terminals in general. So that gives us trophy number 15. Pushing further into the main story, we helped Val, who is one of our friends along the way, escape the Empire, and that led to another story trophy for completing all the main quests on Tatooine, giving us 3 out of 5 of these trophies. And that pretty much meant it's time to head to Akiva. Now, Akiva is a lush forest planet, home to many secrets as we will find out. But luckily for me, our first trophy came only a few minutes into the mission for discovering all planet areas. Again, this one is going to be unlocked just by playing the story, so no need to stress too much on actively looking for different areas. You're going to get this one anyway. Our main mission on Akiva, though, is to infiltrate an Imperial base, destroy the super Viper droids they are creating, and continue building our crew with characters for the final heist. I really liked this section, especially when it came time to evacuate and reach the landing pad and escape. It definitely gave me like escape from Death Star vibes and wasn't just your typical stealth mission that we'd seen so many times in the game already. At this point, we got the Spiked trophy for liberating the Super Viper droid, and we were on our way. Not only did we receive the Spiked trophy, we had also finished all of the main quest line on Akiva, granting us the best of the best trophy, filling out 4 of the 5 planets. After leaving Akiva, we sneak into another Imperial space station to find what our main villain Sliro is cooking up. We perform a little bit more stealth and get hit with a massive cameo here, but again, I won't spoil it. This one is part of the main story though, so you won't miss it when you play through the story. After learning what Sliro's secret is, that he is actually an ISB agent working for the Empire, we unlock the Director Trophy and get ourselves out of there before we pick a fight we absolutely wouldn't have won at the time. After leaving the space station, we have all our crew members ready for the final heist, and it is back to Canto Bight where we started our story to break into Sliro's vault again. This mission requires all the skills you've learnt up to this point and some help from your new friends, but once you pull it off, you will unlock the Eye on the Score trophy for completing all main missions on Canto, which wraps up all of the trophies related to our planets. Now, it wouldn't be Star Wars without an epic space battle, so when the Empire shows up with the Revelator, you know you're in for it. After taking out a bunch of TIE fighters and the shield generators on the Revelator, there's only one thing left to do, and that's to light up the sky with the biggest explosion you'll see, short of the Death Star, of course. And this obviously leads us to our final story-related trophy, calling in some favors for destroying the Revelator. So now with the story done, it was time for the cleanup, and with 22 trophies unlocked so far, there is still quite a few to go. I started with an easy one, fully upgrading a blaster configuration, which I probably could have done throughout the story, but it did net myself the no match for a good blaster trophy. After this, I went and bullied some stormtroopers and was able to get myself the right back at you trophy for defeating 20 enemies with items fetched by Nyx. Trophy 25 came shortly after, as I was able to get to Wanted level 6 and clear it by completing the Death Trooper event. Now, the Death Trooper event is okay. It could have been better, but you actually have to go yourself to this location where the Death Troopers are, take them out, steal the access card, and clear your Wanted whip. Now, I would have loved if the Death Troopers actually came after you rather than you having to go to them. But again, that's just a small little nitpick. There's another super easy trophy in the cantina at Jonta's Hope, where you can talk to this guy and listen to the longest sob story in the galaxy. But don't worry, you can skip the dialogue and still grab the trophy. After making my way around the planets and playing a lot of Sabacc, I started to make a name for myself as a player, taking out some of the high rollers throughout the galaxy, and this brought me face to face with none other than Lando Calrissian, giving me the opportunity to play against him and grab another trophy. Now, if you don't know what Sabacc is, it is a card game similar to poker, and you get taught it throughout the story of the game, and once you get through it, you can take on a whole bunch of different people, Lando being one of them. So to unlock the No Such Thing as Luck trophy, you not only have to beat Lando in a game of Sabacc, but you also have to cheat during the game. And if you do so successfully, the trophy should pop after winning. Moving on to trophy number 28, I decided to start working on some of the contracts for the different cartels, as there is a trophy for completing 40 contracts. During this process, this helped me achieve max reputation with the Hutts for another trophy here. But along the way, I was able to defeat 5 enemies with Adrenaline Rush on the speeder bike simultaneously, which grabbed me another trophy. And then right after that, I was able to get even further trophies for defeating 6 enemies simultaneously with the Adrenaline Rush ability. This one didn't have to be on the speeder bike, so I could have just been standing on the ground for this one, but you kind of see where I'm going. They're very similar trophies and you can get them back to back once you've fully upgraded your Adrenaline Rush. Trophy number 31 is another super easy one called Galactic Gourmet, and this is achieved simply by finding and eating at each of the 4 main planet street food vendors with your companion Nyx. Now, these scenes do take a couple of minutes and unfortunately you can't skip them, but they're super cute. Seeing Kay interact with Nyx, it's probably something you wouldn't want to skip because it is really cute, but you do get a really easy trophy for sitting through a couple of minutes of watching these two eat. Now, number 32 is probably one of the easiest trophies in the game, and I don't know how I hadn't stopped to do this yet, but it was called Galaxy Drift. And all you need to do is perform a 30-second power slide drift on the speeder bike, which can be achieved just by doing donuts for the 30-second period. So this is what I mentioned earlier in the video where there was another one related to the speeder bike that's really easy. This one is simply exactly like that. So simple, so easy. I don't know how I hadn't done it earlier. Now, back to bullying Imperials again. My next trophy was for bribing an Imperial officer to clear my wanted level 5. This can be done pretty easily as each city has a bribable officer somewhere, usually pretty close to where you land or near the cantina. I chose the officer outside the gambling parlor in Mirogana as it seemed the easiest to get to with the Empire chasing me. So this is real simple, just get your wanted level to 5, run away, go and find one of these officers, pay them off to clear your wanted level, done, you have the trophy. Now, remember at the start of this video, I found that Nyx treasure? Well, there's 15 of those scattered throughout the different planets, and the Got You Something trophy is the reward at the end. This took quite a bit of time and a lot of searching, and I thought it honestly should have been a silver trophy, but I guess the developers thought the bronze was better. So it's a trophy nonetheless, and this was the next one on our list. Keeping on the theme of Nyx trophies, the How Rude trophy is achieved by blinding 30 enemies with Nyx attacks. If you're struggling with this one, I have a tip, and that is to make sure the animation fully finishes before actually taking out the enemy. It will only count if Nyx gets all the way through his full attack. So don't go blasting him too early. Hold that trigger finger, wait till Nyx gets back to your side, and then take them out. The next trophy can definitely be done throughout the story, and that is easy pickings. This one's achieved by pickpocketing someone in a cantina on each planet. Now, I do have a tip for this one as well if you guys are struggling to find people. If there is nobody to pickpocket in one of the cantinas, just fly to another world and fly back. And as you bounce around and come back different times, you'll find that there is someone able to be pickpocketed throughout one of the cantinas. And again, if they don't show up, just fly away and come back once again. After finishing in the cantinas, I was able to knock out a handful of trophies related to the space combat, including trophies for defeating an enemy ship after a loop maneuver, destroying 10 ships in the Kijimi Nebula, defeating an enemy ship without dealing the finishing blow with lasers or missiles, flying into space with a fully upgraded Trailblazer, and defeating a raider to clear a wanted status. These were all done simultaneously, and it was super satisfying to knock out a bunch of trophies in a short period of time. Not only was I able to complete all of these in about an hour or two, I was also able to complete my 40th contract for the Syndicates, landing myself with the Honest Work trophy, and the Cutthroat Politics trophy for maxing out my reputation with the Pikes, which was the final Syndicate that I needed the trophy for. With only a few trophies left to go here, I worked my way towards the I'll Bet You Have trophy for defeating 20 enemies distracted by fast talk, which I would have thought I would have completed earlier, but I guess not. It's something that I didn't really use all that often because when you're in stealth, you're trying not to be spotted, and with this one, you kind of have to be spotted. So it's one thing that kind of is in the back of my head throughout the gameplay. If you're doing it through the story, it's going to be a lot easier, but make sure you're thinking about this constantly and using it where possible. Number 45 was the Punching Up trophy, and this was my last space related trophy, and it was quite hard. You have to defeat each of the Syndicate's capital ships without taking any hull damage. Now the trick is to take out each ship without your shield fully depleting. You can, however, crash into the ships instead of shooting them, and that way they won't fire back at you, but you will damage the ships in return. But keep in mind, this only works if you have good reputation with that Syndicate. If you have bad reputation and you crash into them, they are likely to start shooting at you. So make sure you're aware of this if you are going to try this little trick to get it done. Now, closing in on the Platinum trophy, I decided to tackle video game Inception for the There Is No Try trophy for getting a high score in an arcade game. I tried this in my story playthrough and couldn't even get close, but it was because I didn't realize there is a super shot that you can use by pressing L1 throughout the round. Once I discovered this and actually used it in my next play, my attempt was first try completion, and we got the high score, netting us that There Is No Try trophy. Trophy number 47 was the silver trophy. It's mine now, and this was for finding the Scoundrel gear set. This was located in a series of hideaway safe houses and took a lot of searching to find, but ultimately I was able to get there in the end, leaving me with just 2 trophies for the Platinum. But this is where disaster struck. My final 2 trophies were for completing all expert quests and acquiring the Disruptor gear set. And you can imagine my distress when I completed all of the expert quests and didn't receive a trophy. Not only this, but I did also fly through space collecting all of the secret intel that I needed for the Disruptor gear set, only for one of the final barrels to be unable to be interacted with, falling short of this trophy as well. I did some research online and also on the PS5, and they both show 0% completion for this trophy on PS5 and also online. So there is definitely a bug with this, leaving the platinum trophy completely impossible at this point. It really is a shame that after countless hours of grinding out this game, it comes to such a disappointing end. So please, if you enjoyed this video, leave a like for my pain, because this game was a grind and a half. And let me tell you, getting feedback and comments from you guys always makes me feel so much better. So please drop a comment below, and I will see you guys in the next video very, very soon. If in the meantime you want a little bit more content from me, there is some popping up on screen right now. So feel free to click one of those, take a watch, and I will see you guys in the next one.